Okay, this is video number 2. We are in Cape Coast, Ghana. We are at the Cape Coast Castle. Just had to take a little short break. This is video 2. Oh. Waiting on a few more ladies. We have 2 of our leaders, our captains, that are waiting for us. We don't go anywhere without our leader, the captain of our team. I think we have about 5 teams. So we have to stick together as a group, which is so beautiful. We're responsible for one another. Young lady selling honey. That's too much weight. We can't take that back with us. It's too heavy. It's too heavy for the plane.
What is that, honey?
Yeah. Too much weight. As you can see right here at the castle, they have a lot of shopping. Right here. Excuse me.
Let's go down this way.
Go down there here.
We can come down this way. Good.
Did you all see Moron? Oh, there's Moron. All right, so we're waiting on you all.
Local.
Oh, you got. Thank you.
There's another group over here. Looks like a school here in Africa. It's likely it's a school from here. Boys and girls. The girls have to have their heads cut low due to time for maintenance and keeping their scalp healthy. This is what I'm told. But I don't agree with girls' hairs being shaved like boys. I will never agree to that. Everybody is accountable or privileged with their opinion, but that's my opinion. And it's that I wouldn't be shaving a girl's head like that. Most of these see girls are mixed in with boys. The girls have on the skirts, the boys have on the pants. All right, let's see what we're talking about.
My name is Thomas Abankwa, and I'm going to be your guide. So if there is any question, comment, or contribution, let me know. But I'm must say the history here is very traumatic and emotional. But the most important aspect of the dancing first we'll talk about the graves, have a look at the male dungeon, move straight into the cell. Upstairs we compare some of the rooms and everything on the door, on the gate of the room. First things, we stand right inside Cape slave dungeons. Others do call this place Cape Castle. The structure you see here happens to be the smallest castles that were built by the Europeans when they came in here, of which the coast of West Africa, we estimate over 60 forting castles being built here. Just that Ghana alone had more than 40 of them, and it was all because of gold. That was why the Europeans named this place as the Gold Coast. Nigeria, Benin, Niger, and a section of Togo had the name Slave Coast, because that was where a lot of the West Africans actually were captured from. So places like Ivory Coast, Grain Coast, and others probably got their names based on the resource that they were getting from the lands. A lot of these Africans moving from Nigeria, Benin, Niger, with the fort and castles here should tell us they were walking, of which mostly myself, I use Accra as my reference. Imagine if you were asked to walk from Accra to Cape Coast today. The journey and the struggle before you make it here. And this time around, beyond the borders of Ghana, they had to walk. And lots of the Africans died. Because coming in here, while the Lemans attacked some of them, some got drowned in rivers, others also, tiredness, hunger killed them. But then for you to make it to the castles or the forts they had in here, they walked them from the north down to the south. So they created resting points that in here we call them the slave markets. So from the north, Salaga, Pikoro, Yendi, Tumu, Wenchi, Kintampo, Kumasi, the middle belts, then they moved them through a town called Bekwa to the coast. Asin Manso happens to be the last market, or probably the place where they get their last shower. They give them food to eat to regain some strength. The beard and hair would get shaved so they look younger for the trade. Shea butter was smeared on the skin. The purpose of the butter was to heal their wounds and also make them look attractive, because they were bringing them into the auction. In this castle, the second floor up there was the marketplace, or the palava hall. Nurses, doctors had them examined just to know their strength as to whether they were fit as domestic or commercial captives. The domestic ones were those to work in the castle, and the commercial ones were those to be exported. Then right after the groupings, they start to auction them to sell them. Goods like gunpowder, mirror, alcoholics, fabrics, leatherwork, ceramics, metallic objects like bangles, beads, tobacco, sugar, and other things were what they used in exchange for the captives. Right after, just as we stand here, they will bring the captives to brand or mark them. And most of the merchants preferred certain fire. They place in metals that had their embossed designs underneath them. So when the metals were red hot, from the fire it moves into an oil. To any part of your body they could stand. Your chest, your shoulder, your back, your arm, just to identify whether this company or that company had been purchased. They would separate the males from the females. So the females would move down to the door or the gate of no return. The males also would stay right underneath their church to await their ship. Staying in the castle, you had to work. So the structure that you see here, I'm going to credit it to the English, but I get to know the hard work happens to be the enslaved Africans. So I always do say Africans actually built their own dungeons. I made mention they built a lot of forts and castles here. But out of the numbers, only 3 were castles, of which the first ever European structure to be built on our land happens to be the St. George's Castle. Popularly today we call it the Elmina Castle, which was built by the Portuguese around 1482. The second is the Christian Book, or Yesu Castle, which was built by the Danish around 1661. And the last is where we all find ourselves today, Cape Coast Castle, which was also built by the English around 1664. But then out of the 3 castles, Cape Coast, where you stand today, happens to be the only castle that was built purposely for the transatlantic slave trade. So Elmina and Osu earlier were for trade like gold and others, until later they converted Soropish into dungeons. So talking about castles, this is the smallest castle. And talking about dungeons, this is the biggest dungeon the Europeans actually built in Africa. Once you hear about the transatlantic slave trade, it is actually talking about a trade that happened within 3 continents, which is Europe, Africa, and then the Americas. That took almost 300 to 400 years to actually enter. And I'm giving a range of, because as it stands, we still don't know the exact date they started the trade. I'm saying as it stands, we still don't know the exact date that the trade act itself started. It was around the 1500s that Europeans started coming in here. And historically, 1400s, and historically we're told they came in here as missionaries, as explorers, merchants, and others. But I always do say the major factor that brought them here happens to be humans. Or because before the Europeans came to Africa, there were once Arabs in here. And most of the Arabs were staying at the north and the east of Africa to trade. They had humans, they had natural resources to supply some to the Europeans. So historically, places like Cyprus, Spain, Portugal, and others, they had Africans that were working over there. But at the point, the Europeans wanted to break the monopoly that the Arabs enjoyed here. So if they had the north and the east, equally they could also use the west, the center, and the south of Africa. But then they made West Africa their focus because they realized a lot of the resources that they actually got from the Arabs they came from the north or the east, rather the west of Africa. And they supported that fact with the pilgrimage that Mansa Musa had around 1324, which brought the Portuguese here. Portuguese, before even coming to Gold Coast, had already been to Cape Verde. They were in Sao Tome. Somewhere 1441 was where they settled in Senegal. Senegal, they had 11 Africans saying they were going to Christianize them to become missionaries so they can come in here to spread their gospel. They got to Portugal, they couldn't return back. Some historians will tell you when they got there, the king said they were strong as missionaries, so they couldn't bring them to actually minister. It was 30 years after they came actually to this place. That was Gold Coast, where 11 years they were given the land to build their castle. Traded for some time until the 1500s, when Christopher Columbus and his group actually were sailing to, let me say, the west, to India. Ended up in the Americas where plantations like sugarcane, tobacco, cotton, coffee, rice, and others were established in large scale. Earlier, natives from those lands were subjected to work on their plantations, and due to the hardships, they were dying. The natives were introduced to diseases such as measles, influenza, pox, and others which would kill them. Because they were owners of the land easily, they could get to escape from their plantations. So they had a Catholic missionary with the name Bartholomew de las Casas, who was like they should shift the demand to Africa. Because the Africans exposed to them some years back proved to be strong. The African system can withstand both tropical disease as well as the European disease. Looking at the climatic condition in Africa and the work we do here, it was similar to what they expected to do in the New World. So if you are able to move them from Africa to that place, they can't escape like the natives were doing. So that would be of their best advantage. The then Pope was by name Pope Nicholas V, and he also had the palpable with a decree signed that was to seal the start of the trade. Yeah. In here, they had different ways to get captives. Some Africans were raided, kidnapped along the coast by the Europeans themselves, but then they couldn't go to the inner lands. So some of them also would convince some Africans to join them, to be given better lives. Because if you join them, probably the skills you had in here, you could actually make use of it. And when you end up out there, whatever you were promised you didn't be given. But then a lot of them that were brought into the castles happens to be as a result of tribal wars that we had in Africa. The Europeans came and realized that we had a lot of divisions, so then they had to use the divisions against us. In the olden days, if I probably want to expand my land, I can't just go and take this to this land, but I fight it. So once I fight it, I fuse her into my system. So a village would give me less estate. The more states I conquer, I get a kingdom. The more kingdom will give us an empire. But in Africa, it was more of fusion than enslaving, because that is why some historians tell you that it's a servitude system. So in there, if you work hard, you could pay off your debt to gain your freedom. Some, because of how hardworking they were, masters even gave them lands, even had to give their own relative to them to marry. Through that, they got their freedom. Others, even at a point, would change status of being slaves to become royals. In a typical example in Ghana, we have the Asantes and the Akwamu as reference. They were known for a series of wars. So if I see this man, or him to be strong, my focus was to make them chiefs or war leaders. The reason being that they would need us to fight. So with their strength and strategy, they can help us also to expand. Through that, they got their freedom. And knowing it made it easier for the Europeans. Because this group here happens to be divisions that came together. So then, each and every group in there would also want to one day become the leader. So we supply them with weapons. They fight themselves. So if I supply this group, once you get your captive, you bring them to me. The same way this group, to supply to her, and this group to me. So at the point, we wouldn't have to go out hunting again. Because we need weapons given to the tribes, they always want to protect their system. So you fight more. The more you fight, the more enemies you put in. Through that, they had a lot of them. But they wouldn't end the system here, because after all this, in the New World, plantation owners would exchange humans with sugarcane, tobacco, cotton, coffee, rice, and others. Raw materials would move to Europe to be transformed into finished goods, and all finished goods are coming here for the system to start all over. That gave us the triangular trade. the transatlantic slave trade. So basically, that is the system. If there is any question, comment, contribution,
Are there any records that says which tribe people were taking most from? Is it Fanti? Is it Shanti?
talking about Ghana, I would always say a lot of them were not captured in terms of the trade, because most of them, where they had a lot of the wars, came from Nigeria, Benin, Togo. But then in Ghana, I wouldn't exempt any tribe. All of them, a section of them were captured. But the aspect is, because she's a Danish, she works with the Ga, works with the Ewe, works with, let's say, Achim from the eastern side. So when they fight other tribes, they supply to her. I'm an Asante. I work with the Dutch. So when I get married to, I supply to the Dutch. He's, let's say, Fanti. Then try others, they work with the English. So when they get the extra too, so probably they're all spreading amongst them. But most of them that were brought to the slave market came from different areas like Nigeria, Burkina, and others. So when they come, some locals from this end would also serve as middlemen to buy them from the market and bring them down. Yes, please.
The area that you call the Slave Coast.
Slave.
Yes. Do you know offhand what tribes were prevalent in those areas?
So the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Home, the Oyo, and all these systems were states and kingdoms. A lot of them, just that I could just make you name of them, because Nigeria have a lot of Oyo. I made mention of Oyo itself. Yes. Oyo,
Nigeria. Talking about the conflict. When the conflict started, it started with
Oyo, the Home. So even some Asantes could move that way to fight. And also bring some parties down.
most of the tribe are in Ghana, like the Airways, the Ghana.
Against the Fanti, and Fanti, and they would enslave. Maybe would slave each other and bring them to the slave market, or this is mainly from Nigeria and Benin.
So some come from that end, some from those places, from Burkina, almost all over within West Africa. They have,
But for the most part, Nigeria.
most of them Nigeria, Benin. That is why they have that place named as the Slave Coast.
The reason why I ask is because we're aware of a map where it labels that area, this area, Negro land. And in that Slave Coast, there's a piece of it that's called the Kingdom of Judah. So I was wondering what tribes were in that area.
In terms of talking about the Kingdom of Judah, historically, it is believed that most of the people from West Africa, let me see, even Ghana, were from those areas. Some went to stay in present Old Empire Ghana. Old Empire Ghana, when they got attacked by the Arabs, they actually migrated and came down here. So if you trace, that is why probably some will give them having that, especially the accounts. They believe they are Jewish.
Sure.
Jews. So that is why the accounts are the Fantis, Asantis, the Bono, the Achim, they are all part of the account. So it's that is the largest group in Ghana. About 65% of the people.
We call those groups the 12 tribes of Israel.
So they spread, some came in here, some stayed in Nigeria. So it's like they move, they keep moving. Yes, please. So you're welcome anyway.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the Graves Creek one before we move into the back. It's a quick one here.
Take one read.
Alright, so this area, they had graves. They excavated the place 1996, only 4 were left here. And out of the 4, the first one here is by name George McLean. He happens to be one of the governors of the castle, died at the age of 46. Malaria confirmed him, and he's very popular in our history. He introduced us to the way Europeans settled disputes. So the first European fort in Ghana is right up there, and through that he designed a very popular treaty we call the Bond of 1844. And he also blocked the tunnel connecting the male dungeons to the door on the gate of no return. Age 46, like I said, he died. That is the wife of McLean, Letitia Elizabeth London. She was here to visit the husband. 2 months she was found dead in the husband's room. When she died, rumors spread she poisoned herself, all because she got to know the husband, having stayed here for almost 8 years, had an African mistress. So out of frustration, she poisoned herself. But then some do claim the husband, together with the mistress, poisoned her, all because after she died, they still continue with their effort to the extent of even having kids. And some to say malaria rather killed her. She was 36 when she died around 1838. The last one here, the CV Whitehead. Whitehead too, we don't know what killed him. Some are saying the Asantes killed him. Others are saying it was the Dutch. And some will say malaria killed him. He was 38 when he also died. 38, 36, and 46.
Wow.
The last one there is the only African buried in the castle. The name, Philip Kwak. Originally he's Kwiku, a Jew. And you remember, the lady over there was asking the days they were born, so Kwiku happens to be a Wednesday born within the Akan community. The father was one of the middlemen that were buying cattle from the slave market. So his role got his son a scholarship. He left this place to England at the age of 11. England, they baptized him into the Anglican faith. So they gave him an English name as Philip. And the name Kwiku also got mispronounced to Kwak. That made him Philip Kwak. Age 24, he became the first black man to be ordained as an Anglican priest. The following year, he was brought back to this same castle. So right above the dungeon, they had a church. And he stayed up there as a minister for almost 50 years before he died. Personally, I know nothing he did for or against the trade, because one man up there can't dictate what should be done. And get to know the same trade also brought him the scholarship. But in the latter part of his days here, treatment was very poor. The seized even paid him. So the best he could do was to leave the castle to the town to promise to feed himself. And through that, he taught the natives how to read and write English language. So in Ghana, we attribute the Western education to him. Age 75, he died, English themselves buried right. So these are the graves we have around. Please, we are moving to the male dungeons. I'm told the dungeon is already full. So if possible, let's go upstairs. We do the top part and later we come.
Wow, it's a word.
Put your foot all the way on the step.
I know, right? It's kind of steep.
So this castle was built by the Anglican Church?
Sorry?
The Anglican Church?
No, not the church. It was built by the English as a group of merchants. Okay.
But they were obviously Episcopalian or
Yeah,
Anglican.
Anglicans, yeah.
Right.
And those days too, The traders, wherever they were moving with the soldiers and all that, had missionaries for them.
And Almina was built by Dutch.
But Elmina was built by the Portuguese.
The Portuguese.
And later the Dutch added more structure.
Thank you.
And Christian Borg was built by.
Built by the Danish, for that matter. Please, I'm the last person. So we stand inside the marketplace or the palava hall. And if you remember, I made mention once the captives got to the castle, they had a place where they would examine them, just to know their strength, group them into domestic, commercial captives. They marched them forward to according to their physique and their strength. That would help them to determine as to whether they should take them with the gunpowder, and other stuff before they move them downstairs to be branded with the heated Gentiles. This same place we stand is where some 8 coastal chiefs also met with Commander Hill, Captain George McLean, and some 3 other officials to sign the bond of 1844, the same bond that laid foundation for our colonization for 113 years. Which is to tell us, before even they had a Berlin conference, Ghana had already been colonized by the English, almost 50 to 60 years as well. The floors, the ceilings, the doors and windows in here have been restored. The only original thing is at the edges you see some black ceilings. Apart from that, whatever you see in this room have been restored. When you came to the castle, I asked you to get some pictures out there, and I'm sure you saw the letter of the captains. The business here was very profitable. Talking about the business, I mean the gold and the human trade. So having a place to trade, you should protect your end. If not, others were willing to fight and take over the place. So this castle was built by the English, and the land itself had been used by 4 different Europeans before the English came in. The Portuguese happens to be the first settlers on our land. They had the Almina castle built, but then around 55, a section of their merchants came in. They just built a team, stayed for 100 years until the Dutch fought the Portuguese at Almina. So they had to leave Almina and later abandon this place. The Swedish came in the following year, built a fort, stayed in their fort for about 5 years. From nowhere, the Danish came in for the Swedish here. Danish stayed for 2 years. The Dutch also came in for the Danish. That was when the Danish also left this place that same year to Accra to construct the Christian Castle. So the Dutch thought they had this place, they had Almina and Mori. The English, exactly 3 years, also came in for the Danish. The Dutch stayed here for 296 years in the castle they built. And they actually could defend themselves from enemies with the weapons you saw around them. So when they see intruders coming from the land or the sea, they just put in gunpowder, balls at the mouth, light their match, and straight into the enemy ship. Water goes in there, it sinks into the sea. And that helped them to stay in for that long. So if there is no question, let's see where the governor stays his residence when we get to the dungeon. Please, pick over this one.
That's okay.
No, they didn't stay. All right, so this section of the castle used to be the barracks for the European soldiers. They stayed within the rooms over there, used the middle as their canteen. George McLean, I made mention, introduced us to the way the Europeans settled disputes. So this happens to be the first Western court, and he was the first judicial assessor. Today, we'll probably call him the Chief Justice. So through that, they converted this place to a prison for the Africans until the year 1992. That was when, yes, they moved the prison from this place to Ankafo, and today we can all see a craft shop. So as first the garrison, it became a prison, today a craft shop. The middle part, which was the canteen for the soldiers, today happens to be a coffee shop. So it still serves the same purpose. You remember I was talking about the English defend the castle from the enemies. So one would ask, how would they even detect enemies coming? They built forts. So if you look up on the hill, you can see some white structure over there with a red cap. It is called Fort William. And there's one also behind the Anglican church called Victoria. So soldiers up there can see someone coming far from the sea and the land. So when they do so, they signal those in the castle in the morning with flags, afternoon with mirrors, and evenings with torches, so that they can as well get to use the cannons as I made mention. Whatever you walk on here is still original. These are marble stones, and that is pitch pine, all original piece and floors here. So please, we go straight.
Very cool and breezy. Nice breeze. Very nice.
Very airy.
Yes, I like that.
I wish we had a tour here.
Right. Feels wonderful. Hallelujah.
Omina is over there. If not, even the foggy nature you could probably see from this point. It's at the last edge over the stretch a bit. Just like most of the foggy nature. Yeah, Omina is like, even we drive like 15 minutes.
Back then, they can see.
Most of them they can see. And if you have those telescopes or something, you can even see the visuals of that. Which one get? See, discussing.
Black people.
Omina was built first. Alright, so I will now we stand inside the darkness living room. And here we just come in just to have a feel of the place. So that when we get to the darkness, we can get to compare where one person stayed to where about 1,000 human people stay. Up here, you can see the type of vent it's having, the breeze you're all enjoying, the view of the sea, the natural lighting, the space in here, all used by one person. Probably you can see how big the place is. Aside having this place as a building, we have the everything there. So please, let's see the thing. I'll push that everyone.
Okay. I'm gonna be.
Don't worry, you're safe. It wouldn't come off. All right, so the bedroom for the governor also is having 5 windows. His corridor having 2. So one person staying up here would probably have 16 big windows. And when we get down there, you also get to see the type of vents the captives themselves have down there. Aside having these 2 rooms, as his living and bedroom, he had an office and a reception also underneath us. So please, let's see these 2 places as well. Walking out on your right, you will see his wardrobe or closet. And those days, because most of them were soldiers, the washrooms were downstairs. You do it, we move straight into the sea. So please, we come down this way. That was the story, the closet or wardrobe.
Wait, so maybe one of Mr. Jason is starting.
It's a lot of process, like just coming to the wake and process.
So your group now, you walk past us. So if you are with a lady, please you go straight. Or if you are with me, you stand here. So please, those with me will stand here. Yes, those with me will stand here. Now we stand here. We wouldn't join them. Yes, those with me will stand here. And those with the lady will go forward.
Sorry, we just ain't our people.
Yes, my people will stand here. The others go out there.
I just ain't doing them.
I still hear me go for me. Yeah. Hey. Oh, okay. All right, so we stand inside the governor's reception area. Here he received visitors. They do their drinking, would entertain them in this room. And that was his personal office. So once they appoint you as a governor, he had an office, a reception, a living, and a bedroom. Right underneath us where this group stands happens to be the male dungeons. And that is the first chamber of the dungeon, the second, the third, the fourth, and fifth. Just that when you were up here, you wouldn't see anything from the dungeon because of the thickness of the wall. But in the church, whatever that was happening in the dungeons, they will see, they will smell, and hear it as well. So the dungeon had 5 chambers, I was counting. So the first chamber, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So please, if there is no question, let's see the church before the dungeons. This way, please.
We're going to the church. Yes. The congregation.
Watch your steps coming down.
All right, this one's Rocky, more Mariah.
Okay.
Your hands over your head is what's making me nervous.
Okay.
That's the wrong way to be.
I'm good.
These bricks are kind of off. I can't take them.
Hold on.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
These set too.
Okay. Oh, and this.
Yeah, it's all here.
Zetas.
That's interesting.
Mighty one.
Wow.
Mighty one. Are you serious? Greek. Greek. Just like they say.
Zeta, Zeta. Sorority.
Wow.
Excuse me, sweetie. Come on.
All right, so we stand right in front of a church. The name of the church was the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. SPG, today we call it the Anglican Church or Church of England.
Wow.
Moving into the church, moving out of the church to worship, praise their Maker. Right in front of them, they could see, smell, and hear whatever that was happening in the dungeon. So the dungeon is right in front of us.
The dungeon is here.
Yes.
And you call yourself an Anglican. You call yourself Catholic.
White congregation church.
Call yourself
While the
Christian.
slaves are suffering below, the church
They were also saying that their neighbors.
Oh yes, that's where the good old Christians come from.
The sad aspect is that at
Catholicism,
the point the place became a school,
Anglican, all
and the
religion.
school here was designed for the mixed race, the kids that they had with the blacks. And these kids moving in and out of the school where they were being indoctrinated, some became slaves by chance.
Represented by all religion.
No. So in the castles, there was nothing like you getting the chance to be saved or being preached to know. In here, it is like a storage room awaiting shipment. So the only focus is the best option we can use you is actually to work in the castle whilst waiting for the captain ship. Apart from that, yes, please.
What was the presence of churches, Anglican churches even, in this area like before they built this castle?
Before they had nothing.
They had no churches.
So before the Europeans came, we knew nothing about the aspect of Western Christianity. So we had our own belief system where we believe that because you can't see the Creator, natural things around you can get to communicate to them, and they rather will send a message to the Creator. So when they came in, they actually realized that the Africans were more spiritual. So the easiest way to attack the Africans was to use religion. So I always say myself, I'm a Christian, but then the truth of the matter is Europeans never brought Christianity for us to be saved. Rather, it was one of the biggest tools they used to enslave us. So when they came,
You said Christianity was
yes,
one of the biggest tools
they used to enslave Africans.
Absolutely, they all
The
go
aspect is
together.
the aspect is that when they came, because of the system we had in here, they saw that this financially our system was binding us. So the easiest way to get us off was to use the religion aspect. So when they came, they made us believe in the first that Jesus Christ was bringing to us was just a black person like ourselves. That is why when you read the description of Jesus in the Bible, having that wool hair, brass skin, meaning he's a black person. And when they were bringing them a picture of Jesus, they brought them a white Jesus.
Yes.
Come on,
They
somebody.
told them all angels are white. Angel Michael, Angel Gabriel, and all that. Lucifer, we all
You
know
want to
archangel.
still be a
So how come
Christian?
Lucifer became black? So deep in your head, you probably get to know you follow the aspect. So if you want to be saved, you have to go through the process. The made African believe that for you to go to heaven, the first aspect that you need to do is to be submissive. So if you are submissive, you can go to heaven. So then,
Romans,
as
master,
well, if you also have wealth, the
slaves.
more wealth you amass, the more proud you become. So for them, you also
Obey
need to
your
ease up
master.
pride. So then, it is easier for the camel to walk to the edge of the needle than the rich person to go to heaven. So the same resource is taken from you, you go and work it in heaven. And they made them actually be meek. So if you read some section of, I think First or Second Peter was saying that as a slave, whether your master was right or harsh or good to you, you
Romans,
still have to obey the master. So
obey
in
your
head,
master.
You know when you obey, you're going to heaven. So through that, they had them. So I always say the system they brought in here was not to save us, rather to get us. Because so they knew that everything that has to do with religion has to do with your heart. Because you get to believe. So when you believe, easily they can get to control your mind. The body does nothing. And through that, they had them. The sad aspect is when they started indoctrinating the system, it was not the elderly ones, rather when they go to the town, kids like their time. That is those that they have to educate, because they knew if you educate a kid, tomorrow they become the future, and they are going to also teach the others to come. That is why even here in Ghana, I tell you that about 75% of us are Christians, and the rest,
Wow.
let me say 20 thereof are
How
Muslims.
does that make you feel, knowing that a lot of your people converted to the religion of their oppressor in the Church of England, while our people suffered below and they heard doxology and worship of the oppressor above, and now, would you say 70% are now the Church of England, or have been
Christians,
Catholicized? How did it make you feel?
I would say it's a mixed feeling, because you know the aspect is here in Ghana, most of us were born into the Christian family, so it's like you grow with it, and just like I said, they actually educate the younger ones to pick up with it. So sometimes growing up to understand the system itself, it takes time to even get to understand that this is how the whole system works, this is how you need to operate. So myself, it took some time before I realized that it's not about the church aspect, but about what you believe in. So you just need to do good to mankind and just operate freely. That is how now I see myself. Even if I'm a Christian, I don't do this thing as what we are. Rather, I believe the whole aspect about the gospel is to love your neighbor as yourselves, to do unto others as we expect them to do.
Come in, brother.
I notice this room is sponsored by Zeta Phi Beta, which is
One of the
African
sororities.
American sorority.
Greek.
What is their relationship to
Alright.
this room?
So when the slave trade ended, colonization ended, the castle giving back to us, they converted the school or the church to a library, which actually at the point books in there were not in good shape. So just last 2 years, the Zetas, actually they were here some time back, donated, and just last 2 years they also came to restore the whole place, give them fans, air conditions, let me say the standing ones and all that, to restore the place. So that made them actually just 2 years ago. So if there is no question, let's see the dungeons this way.
Are we able to go into the church?
It's unfortunate the librarian is on leave, so it has been locked. So please, we go.
I'm not going in the dungeon.
So we have 2 plaques here. A self-explanatory plaque about the Obama's visit to Ghana. But the most important one is what we have here. So this was unveiled the year 2009, July 11th, when Barack Obama and the wife came in. But then the most important one, as I made mention, was also unveiled in the year 1992. The chiefs in Ghana brought this plaque to render an apology for some Africans' involvement in the trade, and as well to also remind us so we don't forget the past, to repeat the same mistake again. And it reads, in the everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors, may those who died rest in peace, may those who return find their roots, and may humanity never again perpetrate such injustice against humanity. The ended, we the living vow to uphold this. A living being, if you wouldn't want yourself enslaved, then never get yourself involved in any slave activity. That was why they brought this powerful message here. We are moving into the dungeons. Please, it slopes a little bit, so I would wish we all stick to the right, so that when you are falling, you can use the wall as your balance. That is actually the caution. 4 steps, then to the right.
How long will we be in here?
Just, let me say, 10 minutes. 10 or less. Yes.
10 or less, if you want.
10 or less, if you want. If not, the most important part now is the door or the gate of no return. But then it's also good to have a look to see how the dungeon was.
Come in, we walk in and
4
walk out.
steps,
Yeah, you come in,
stay to
you
your
come
right.
out.
And then walk out.
You watch your steps.
She wants to go back.
So you stay to the right so you don't fall.
Wow, this is really steep.
So you watch your steps coming in here. So we go inside, please. So please, I will wish you turn off our lights in some few seconds.
Turn off your lights.
Alright, so the dungeons those days had no lights. So in there, the three holes that you see up there will provide them with light and also serve as their source of ventilation. We have 5 chambers in here. The first, the second, the third, fourth, straight to the fifth one. And remember, up there I was doing the counting. We estimate just this chamber will stand when fully loaded to hold about 150 to 200 of them. So you multiply by 5, you are getting about 700 to 1,000 humans to fill the bill deficit. But I get to know they were real, they were hunted, kidnapped, through warfare. So the place will always be filled with captives. Sometimes the numbers will give it to less. But then because of the conditions here, not all of them actually were to make it out of this place. In here, they expect them to defecate, urinate, sleep in the same condition. A lot of the Africans got sick, because keeping them down here, communicable disease probably spread amongst them. Aside that, the unhygienic condition to which they stay will also add up to the illness. Cholera, malaria, fever, diarrhea, and others. If you were to die in the dungeons, they wouldn't give you any befitting burial. The bodies would be loaded in sacks. They are cannonballs leading to it. Then we dump all these bodies into the ocean. So the sea out there happens to be mass area for a lot of African that are. Yes. You look on the floor, you probably will see some drainage systems. They were made as passage for the waste in the dungeons to move into the sea. But then we ask ourselves, how often will it rain? Even if it does rain, there will be enough for us to move the waste. So the domestic captives they had here were those assigned to clean the place. And they were not doing that on a regular basis. Before they would come in, some probably might have stepped on the poop and others start making them stuck on the floor. So what they could get from this place, they do so. The rest were to be covered with sand. And that's the creating layers in the dungeon. The year 1974, we had some group of archaeologists from the University of Ghana, which was led by the late Professor YAHUAH. With the team, they had this place excavated, discovered the bricks you stand on as the original floor of the dungeons. So they took samples of what they got from this room to their lab to be tested. And the results that came out says the little portion they left here, as well as everything they worked on from the second to the fifth chamber, happened to be the toilets, the vomit, the sweat, the blood, the food particles, things that humans do excrete, they get from their system with sand, food, blood is what we see here. And they left this place and the other chambers unexcavated, just as a proof, so that if you don't believe, you could also get samples from any of the 4 chambers to test as to whether they contain human DNA or not. The condition I'm talking of, captives, they expect them to stay in minimum just a day. At maximum, we estimate almost or over 3 months. Because until ships were ready, we probably wouldn't be able to. Those days, their ships were not having propellers as we have to pay our sailing. So just imagine if a ship leaves Cape Coast, moving to, let's say, Virginia, Jamestown, might make some stops. From that point, we have to move to Europe, England, Liverpool, Brisbane, and others, before we come in here. So if you're able to make the ship, you go with them, but if you miss, you have to wait for the cycle to complete before the journey ends. You survive, you go with them, you die straight into the sea. Out of the chambers they had here, I always say this was actually the worst one, all because it was the only chamber that had a gate. And those in here mostly were those that were kept in chains because they were seen to be the aggressive ones. Mostly, they kept them in chains to prevent them from fighting officers, the male bandits. So if you are comparing this place to the governor's room, you probably could see the big difference. Yeah. Please, let's see the next chamber.
So just for clarification purposes, churches about so the slave can hear and get a European worshiping?
Most definitely. Yes, that's because of language barrier, they wouldn't understand. Yes, please.
And What was used to justify slavery was
That way is out, right? That way is out.
Yes, so that's
that was only for slaves. They needed
humans.
they needed raw materials, and the way to get raw materials was to make the Africans cow. So that's why the churches were speaking of
With the Bible, I always say, they pick an aspect that will benefit them. If this is what, yes, if this is what we are doing, then we quote from this place. This is what we are doing from this place. And today, I tell you, the same system still works.
Yes. The same
Please.
system still works.
We have a look this way. Please watch your steps coming down. Please listen. Quick one here. We were in front of the church, and I pointed to a hole, saying, walking in and out of the church, you witness everything happening in the dungeons. So that is the hole we saw in front of the church. So whatever that happened down here, they were seeing, smelling, and hearing from this point. So if you're also closer to the window, you see the gate to the church as well. So those that were closer to see them moving to the church to worship. So a church right up there in the dungeon right beneath us.
We love the church. Really?
Most definitely, that was what I was about to say.
Wow.
So whatever you see black here happens to be the waist. And moving straight over there, just look on the floor, especially with where the person is, you'll see some traces of bricks, which is to prove to us that if we excavate the floor, there should be bricks also filling the whole space. So whatever you work on now happens to be human waste. Please, you join me.
Petrified.
Wow.
Alright, so the last chamber. This place was also used for the selection of the captives. Because of the condition down here, not all of them actually were that fit to make it out of this point. So when ships were ready, those that were seen extremely weak, that might die a day or two, were kept over there. The rest in chains or ropes were forced through a tunnel that connected this place to the door or the gate of no return. So you would walk in this way and have to use the tunnel. It's unfortunate we wouldn't go to the tunnel today, because in the year 1834, Captain George McLean, the man buried down there I made mention, was asked to block a tunnel, and that was the tunnel he blocked. And it was actually to symbolize the English ending slavery here. And truth to be told, practically, they were still smuggling humans until 1860s. That was when officially they ended the whole shipment here in Africa. And areas where they were moving the Africans in terms of the Americas, the northern part ended somewhere in 1865, that was during Abraham Lincoln's time, periods. The Caribbean land was 1886, which was in Cuba. And the final place the whole trip ended in the war was Brazil, which was 1888. So historically, I would say the Portuguese started the trade right here, and the same Portuguese ended the trade in Brazil. Saying they had the tunnel should also tell us this was not part of the dungeon system. But then before this land was given to the Europeans, The native used to worship a deity on this land they call Nana Tabu. You remember up there I said before they came, we had our own ways of worship. But when they came, they made everything we're doing look actually bad, then as well what they brought in was good. That is why today, if you go to the church, you see a cross, it is holy. But then when you come to a fetish area, you see an idol, they give different names to it. The same way you can make sacrifice in the church, but then when you make sacrifice here, it's demonic. So these things, they have to indoctrinate and probably change how to worship. So the people of the town, when they gave the land out, were asked to leave this place. They left with 2 of the stones they worshipped to the town. Wow. The castle we see here was officially given to Ghanaians in 1960, when Ghana became a Republican country. Then 1973, the chief then, with the fetish priest of the priest, brought the stones back. So today, those that still believe in our traditional system still come here to worship. That is why we see things they use for prayers and the stools they sit on. Within this land, they have about 77 of such deities. And out of the 77, this is the leader amongst them. They call it Nana Tabil. That is what we see.
They call it what?
Nana Tabil.
No.
Tabil. But if you have others, will call it Nana Tabri, if it is sound easier for you. Yeah. So you look over there, you see wreaths and flowers. These wreaths were brought in by Business Secretary. I did mention you die in here, your body goes into the sea. For us, we have them believe their souls are still here. So when we bring them, we lay them in places like this to honor, respect, and remember the dead. That is why we have them here. So if you have any question, you let me know. If not, you see the condemned cell, then straight to the door or the gate of no return. Please, we go out this way.
Is that the alcohol that for libations?
Yes, please.
Libations?
Yes, please. We go out this way.
Watch your step, everyone. Walking on blood and
Feces. Wow. Wow. Okay, Mom.
You can drop horse when you can.
Lean forward. Lean forward is the secret.
Oh, thank you,
Lean
Lord.
forward.
So we go straight this way.
Oh. Ooh. Oh. Mom could have never took this. No, man. Woo. I'm exhausted. Going to the gate of no return. Shalom, Mishpachah. Yes, we did. You tired, Lily? Oh.
All right, so we are in front of a condemned cell. A lot of the Africans that were brought in here were warriors from their tribes. So having brought in to the castle, working outside, some of them were ready to fight officers to escape from the place. And doing that, they were seen to be rebellious. So for that, the rebellious ones had to be killed to deter others from trying to escape or fight them. Then in here, what they do is to beat others in the presence of other captives whilst working. Then they will move them into the cell. 3 doors will block them. No food, no water, no air, and no light. So you get dehydrated, you suffocate, and then you die in there. But the sad aspect is, let's say we are about 5 or 10 sent into this room. If I happen to be the soldier, I walk in, realize this section dead, I wouldn't take them out. I wait till the last person in there was dead. Bodies will be laid on the floor for others to see it. So that next time, if I to repeat the same thing, remembering what you saw here would deter you from trying to escape or fight. Then they dump the bodies into the sea. So it was more of, let me say, a psychological way of controlling others in the castle. We are moving into the cell to have a feel of the place. We wouldn't spend much time there, just a quick look, then we come out. This is the only original door we still have in the castle. So any other door or window you've been seeing, they've all been restored, the last door. Wow. So please, watch your head and join me inside. Quick look in.
I'm just gonna get a quick look and get out.
So there's scratch marks?
Probably. Okay, I gotta get out. I'm claustrophobic.
So you just have a quick look and
Yeah.
watch your head, please.
Yeah.
So we have a quick look.
Quick look and get out. No. Ouch. Bump my head. He said watch your head and I still bumped it. Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to get pictures and a little video. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a lot. That little room there was the worst. Ooh-wee. Oh yeah. Don't want to go back in there. I just went for a quick experience.
That's another dungeon.
Yeah, it's a little room that's real tight and dark. Okay. All right. So yeah.
All right, so we head to the door of no return.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the door of no return yet. Okay. Good.
So is this where they will exit the tunnel?
So from the fifth place, we're going to let's get a look at this. So they walk through it to the door. Watch your steps, watch your head, have a quick look, then you move up. There's a peek, then you move. So you don't.
No, that's it. I'm gonna take a picture. That's it.
Spy hole.
The spy hole?
Yeah.
Where they would look down.
Yeah, they'll look on the captives, look down the captives while spoken.
Where they will come to look down on the slaves.
How far down is that?
It's about 13 feet.
That's deep.
13 feet.
3 feet, yeah.
Real deep.
All right, so I made mention from the fifth chamber where we saw the shrine, the tunnel connects that place to the door or the gate of no return. So captives would walk through the tunnel, tied in chains. So soldiers had to spy on them, making sure they were actually coming. So when the person standing here sees them coming, he gets to command them to work faster. And probably the other person will do the counting, making sure the same numbers from that place happens to be the same, heading to the door or the gate of no return. So nobody was jumping in here and nobody came from this point. It was just a spy. Please, proceed this way.
Sewage drain will probably be led to the dungeons. When it rained, they probably got flooded down there.
This is real. This is reality. This is factual. The people that this happened to, that can't be changed or faked.
All right, so
We're here on the continent.
from the fifth chamber, this was the exit. So just as they blocked the entrance, the same date they had the exit also blocked, 1834. The males would walk out, would join the females, and all of them would use the door or the gate of no return down there. And per the design of the castle, this place was supposed to be the door of no return. They had it blocked off because the sea was coming in, so at the early stage of the trade, they had it blocked, then put that door over. So please, let's move down. All right, so the female punishment cell. You know, a lot of the Africans in here were selected from the dungeons to rape. But if you were brave enough to resist, they had to punish you to get a change of mind. But then the females brought in here, the metal gate would block them from escaping. There's a smaller hole where they ease themselves in terms of the poop and others. Unlike the males that had no food or water, the females were given food. They gave them water, but it wouldn't be enough as they had in the dungeons. Not all of them were willing to stay in here. You avail yourself, they move you up there, wash you before they take you to bed. After being raped, they were brought back to the dungeons. Some of the females were seen pregnant before the ship came together. And when they see you pregnant, they take you from the dungeons because you're carrying your baby, take care of you for you to give birth. The mother will leave her, breastfeeding for some months. Then when they see you fit, they had to bring you back for the next ship to take you from this place. To be taken next into the new world. But the babies were for them. So these babies, they kept them. They had nannies that were the domestic female caretakers, so that when they grow, they would bring them to the church. So remember I said they brought some mixed to the church. It was those kids. During and after the trade, some left this place, others also stayed behind. So today, our coastlines happens to be flooded with a lot of Western names. So names like Morgan, Van der Poel, Van Dyke, Wales, William, and others. A lot of them happens to be descendants of the mixed race we have here, and others also like that, and corrupt Africans. So not all of them are direct descendants of the mixed race. Please, we go down a little.
Step down.
The female dungeons had two chambers, separate ones. One in here, the other also directly opposite us. We estimate about 100 to 150 of them staying here, the same numbers over there. Just as the males would defecate, urinate, and do other things, similarly the females were doing here. But in the worst aspect in here, we know females do menstruate. So imagine yourself as a female to stay for more than a month. If no officer moved in to pick you to rape you, you had to stay in with your menses. So imagine the infections, the pain, the stench, the trauma they had to endure. And not all out, some died. Once you die in here, just as they moved down, the males into the sea. The same way the females will move into the sea. The main reason why they had females added to the trade was they knew having them, they would probably give birth. And giving birth means to multiply the numbers of the enslaved Africans. Whilst others were dying, others had to replace the system as well. Two children here. Please.
Question, where were the children? Where are the children of the enslaved?
So is it the mixed race or the
No, the original
case?
children.
If a kid was captured and brought into the dungeons, with below the ages of 13, were all brought into the female dungeons because of the condition. But if you were fit around 16 up, you would be That's correct. They have two houses in the town. The door gate of no
We're at the
return.
end. The gate of no
Originally, the
return.
door they had was very short and narrow. For you to walk out of the door, probably had to before you fit through the door. Africans that went out of this door never returned. You walk out, you lose your right as a human being, you lose your connection with your people, and also get to lose it as an African. And I'm saying you lose your identity all because my brother, Peter said, so let me say she's from Nigeria, let's say from the Yoruba land, Ihioma, Accra, Nayeli, Volta, Region, Maui, Asante, and I don't care where they put you from. Once you get to the plantation, you're all going to be Christian. We need like Thomas, Esther, Mary, James, and others. If the master happens to be Smith, automatically if I become Thomas Smith, Mary Smith, Esther Smith, Rebecca Smith, everybody gets it because we can't be stupid. We speak different dialects because of the language barrier we can't communicate. So the best option is for us to adapt to the master's language. So years to come, the Asante, the Konkomba, the Nagati, the Yoruba, the Igbo speak the same language, probably not the same name. So we are all going to lose identity. You walk out of this castle, you lose your connection with your people, and as well, you're right. Because the business was backed with insurance, they care less about the lives of the people, rather, they focus much on the penny they were making out of the business. And
Who insured them?
insurance, Europeans had insurance from this end, moving straight to Europe. So the Americans had a lot of insurance companies that today, some still operate, of which World Bank, Partners, and others were all part of this company that were also financing and supporting them in the business. That's what. And a lot of the Africans had never seen the sea before because majority of them came from the inner lands. So having seen the sea for the first time got them scared, thinking were to be killed. So when they put them on canoes to take them into the bigger ships, they themselves were jumping into the sea to commit suicide. I am willing to jump, but then she's not. Because we are in chains together, if I was to jump, I pull her and others with me, we all die together. To make it to the bigger ship, they lay them on flaps, head, tail, before they transport them. Historically, the largest number made it to the south, of which Brazil had the highest concentration. Some were taken to Argentina, Colombia, and others. Some made it to the Caribbean lands, places like Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, Bahamas, Barbados, St. Lucia, Suriname, and others. Others also moved to the north. Florida, North, South Carolina, Mississippi, Virginia, New York, and others, and some were taken to Europe. Europe to England had the highest number. France, Netherlands, Denmark, Portugal, Spain, and others. And today, we probably see blacks spread all over the world. We are all making it out of the same door or gate of no return. And for us here, we are sure to return. So please, join me out.
Please, we are moving inside.
You sound like your mama.
We're at the end.
That was hilarious.
Wow.
Deidre came out of her door.
All right, so the Africans coming out of the castle will use the door or the gate of no return. But then the Europeans had their own bigger door up there. They used the stairs, would meet them here onto canoes, then canoes would pick them into the bigger ships. And that was where some were jumping into the sea to commit the suicide. Because of the activities of the Europeans within and around this place, they named this whole site European Beach. The place meant for only European activities. So even on their own land, they couldn't use the place. The land given back to Ghanaians today, you can see a fishing village, but the name is still maintained. Locally, they call this place Abrofo, meaning the same in English as beach. We look up there, we see a different narrative, which is the door of return, telling us we are all to return back to where we came from. We had the door of return in the year 1998, when we celebrated our first emancipation day, called the Day of Great Unity. Descendants of those that survived the general had to come back home, interact, fill their lands again. The living never came alone, came with their ancestors. They brought two of them. One to represent their longest, the other to represent their ideal. So from New York, a man by name Samuel Carlson, and from Jamaica, a lady by name Madam Crystal. Remains in Ghana were first taken to a place they call Abanzi, where they have Fort Amsterdam. From there, the Atlantic Ocean they had to use, straight to the door or the gate of no return, just to break the chains and the chains that said no slave will make it back. And the same way they came out of this place, the same way they returned, just to break the curse, or probably to break the chains. Out there, they had some rituals for them. Remember that not all that came out of this castle were Ghanaians. Some came from present-day Nigeria, Mali, Burkina, and others. Ghana became the transit point because of wanting gold, and gold attracted most of them, having the fort in castle painting. So they moved these two remains to a same council. So today, when you visit that site, the grave of crystal of the castle rests peacefully over. Not along the river, but right there.
I'm gonna get me some water.
Just to see that.
I'm trying to sit down so I can get a bottle from her.
I always do say the best person probably to narrate the history should always be this person. The person is in your experience. None of that for all people. There is a possibility as I'm narrating or probably it was worse to the extent that all this really good and other social difference. In here, we don't create stories to create any psychological trauma in anyone's mind. Neither are we to incite anybody to fight others. Neither is this history of confusion among tribes or races. We just want to teach everyone that makes me to this country so that they can know the crime and things so that they don't have the message of the past. So stands, we still claim slavery ended somewhere in diseases deep before the past. And just like how it's no longer changed, not nice. In the world, we all know racism, no materialism, we know caste system, we know this human African nationalism, we know colorism, child a living being, if you only want to serve us, then never get yourself. You want others as responsible. Being the big regardless of our race, outside, ladies, gentlemen, it was nice having you here to host and slave dance.
Toda, thank you. Wow. 1 hour and 22 minutes. Shalom. Cape Coast Castle, along with the dungeon in Ghana.